Welcome to the latest episode of Platform. Today, we're going to be speaking to Tim Adams. Some of you may be familiar with Tim's skating, some of you may not, some of you may remember him from a few years ago, but I absolutely love his skating, and I've been sharing Tim's sections on the Wheel Scene website pretty much since I started it in 2011. He regularly put out parts for USD. He was also sponsored by BHC Wheels, and his skating was just quite rare for its time. You know, round about that era, there was a lot of handrail skating going on, a lot of handicap rail skating going on, a lot of switch ups, and most sections that I was posting on the website at the time were mainly grind, and Tim's skating is not like that at all. He likes to go fast. He loves to skate big gaps, banks, ditches. You know, he'll find walls to jump from one thing to the other, and basically the Rochester scene at that time was just pretty exciting. They had, you know, Tim Adams, Grant Hazelton was in Buffalo and was visiting the guys in Rochester quite a lot. They also had Dan Barnes, I think I just mentioned him. He was on Mind Game Flow. I can't remember whether he's sponsored by Salomon as well. But yeah, they just had a good crew, and Mike Torres was making all these videos of them. And it just felt like they had great content coming out all the time. For a while there, Tim was just putting out regular, great quality sections online for USD and via Mike Torres' YouTube channel, but that kind of dried up around 2016. And since then, I think the only thing we've seen is he had some footage in one of Mike Torres' videos, one for the road. Since that time, he's not had anything else out. That all changed recently. He just had a new section out called Sinner, which was edited by Mike Torres and filmed by a bunch of guys, and it was put out through Blader Union for their crowdfunded thing, and that's where they basically pay people for sections, which is pretty cool. Gives back to the industry, and I know that Tim decided to donate his fee or whatever it was he got from Blader Union to a homeless charity. So I wanted to find out more about that, find out why he decided to film a new section, talk about, you know, what it's like being a gay man in rollerblading, because, you know, as much as we've made a lot of progress in that respect and being more inclusive and being more, you know, just considerate to things that aren't considered the, you know, heterosexual norm or whatever it is that people like to refer to it as. I still think we've got a long way to go, and you can tell that just by looking on, you know, Facebook groups and stuff like that. People will still use homophobic slurs in order to put other people down or to refer to skating that they don't like. So I'm just interested to hear his thoughts on that, because he seems like an intelligent, considered person, and I'm sure he's got some interesting insights to offer. Either way, I'm really excited to speak to Tim. I've been a huge fan of his skating for a long time, and it's great that he's back. Hopefully this isn't the last we're going to hear of him. Hopefully he's going to have, you know, another section in the works, but we'll find out when we talk to him. In the meantime, cue the music. The platform.
Can you hear me? Does it look and sound okay?
Can hear you perfect, and that beard is looking majestic.
Oh, thank you. It's funny. Normally I wear a mustache now.
Okay.
And I've just been so lazy the past like 6 weeks, I just didn't shave.
Right.
So, and I actually asked Grant Hazelton and Nate if I should shave for the show, and they said, no, do the beard. That's more your brand. Was there
your brand? I like that. They're your social media. They're your their image stylists. Yeah, they're your people. I like it. Happy birthday for last weekend. I understand it was your birthday then. Is that right?
Thank you. Yep. Yeah. Last Friday.
Okay. So what was the age then?
36.
Oh, right. You're still young. You know, still fresh.
How old are you? Like 38?
I'm going to be 38 this year. It's very depressing. Yeah. Yeah. I realized I was at the skate park the other day, and some kid was like, was just grinding like a little rail, and I was there with my daughter, and some kid was like, "Wow, you're really good. How long have you been doing this?" And then I sat there for a minute. I was like, "Oh no!" And I was like, "I started when I was like 14. I was like, I've been doing this the best part of a quarter of a century." And I was like, I would like to think that I'd learned some skills in that time, because if not, this has been a complete waste of my entire life.
Same.
So did you guys do anything for your birthday? Did you go out, or is it possible to go out there? I don't know what the restrictions are like over there.
Yeah, things are pretty much, well, not normal, but we went out to a bar. Well, first, so Grant flew into town. Well, he drove into town. He made arrangements because he lives in Florida now.
Yeah.
But one of my best friends, he made arrangements to drive up here, and he's here for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
So he drove up here. He actually got vaccinated that day because he's a New York State resident. So I guess that's how you have to do it.
Right.
And so anyway, my close circle of friends that I skate with now is Grant, Nate Hall, and our friend Troy Rank. And they met us up at the house here. We walked to a bar, had dinner. That was about it. Nothing too crazy.
That's all right.
But
yeah,
it was also the day that the new edit dropped, and so it was kind of like a celebration of that as well, because that's been a couple years in the making. So
that's pretty cool. Okay, yeah, because I saw you mention something on Facebook, and I can't remember when it was. It was months and months ago, and like the rollerblading thing being like, "Oh, I've got a new edit coming out," and then I just didn't remember seeing anything drop, and then. I can't remember who it was, whether it was Mike put up a photo or you put up a photo, and it was maybe last year or maybe even the year before, and it's that spot with the pyramids, like the black pyramid things, and you did a 540 off the stair in between it, and I was like, yeah, I'm regularly in contact with Mike over just since running wheel scene. And I was like, what's going on with this? And then he was like, oh yeah, he's got a new section coming out, and then yeah, I was like, but he hasn't had it out in years, and the last thing was in One for the Road. And I thought I remember somewhere you saying you were taking a step back from skating to focus on your career, and then this came out, and then basically everyone got in touch with me at once, because Mike told me, and then I was in contact with Grant for some reason, because I want to get him on as soon as he brings out a new section. And then I was in touch with Daniel from Blader Union, and apparently you guys know each other from when you were younger. And I was like,
yeah, he's from Rochester.
Yeah, and I was like, this is so weird. So yeah, it was a pleasant surprise to see you have a new section out.
Yeah, I was happy to do it. I've never stopped skating, but just in recent years, it's taken a back seat to other interests I have. And also, like, I'll still go skate with all my friends, but it just so happens that every single summer since One for the Road, I've gotten hurt.
Right. Okay.
And so all I put out was just little Instagram stuff at the end of the season. And so I don't know. We just decided Grant's moved away. Nate and I are kind of on our own to film. You know, we bought a camera together, and we would just go out on these missions. But even at the end of the first season of filming, we didn't have enough. Neither of us did.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like, do we put out a dumb Instagram 60-second thing, or do we just save this stuff and really focus next summer on finishing it up? And so we went with the latter, and finally this section came out. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah. At this point, I've seen it so many times, and I've seen all the footage so much. I don't have any objectivity to it anymore. So Mike sent me the final cut, and I'm like, yeah, this looks fine. I don't know, because it's not new anymore.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you look at footage long enough, it just stops having an effect on you, and you're like, oh, yeah. You kind of become numb to it almost. So, and then you start questioning yourself. You're like, is this okay? Yeah, I can't tell anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you'll film a clip, and I would like send it to Mike, just, on my phone, and be like, is this, like, I'm stoked on this. Is this good? I remember how that felt. And so I'm like, I think this stuff is pretty good. I don't know though. It's been, the stuff's like 1.5 years old at this point. So
yeah. Yeah, some of the stuff in it are absolutely, well, first off, you're still doing the crazy things that I liked when I started posting your sections on the website around 2011 and 12, like the roll in on the kink ledge thing. That looked scary from the first angle. And then when you saw that the ledge actually kinked and went in a different direction and that your skates like left the ground for a moment on one of the kinks, I was like, yeah, that's utterly terrifying.
Yeah, that was scary.
And then the 360 getting towed in by a car, like doing that, even even in my 20s, that scared the shit out of me. So I would not even face that prospect in my mid to late 30s. Yeah, no way.
That one scared me too. I had done it, I think, like once or twice, going slower, and Troy was driving. He doesn't drive much, and it was a standard shift. And so I'm like, all right, just hit it in first, shift to second immediately, and then just gun it in second. And I'll let go when I feel like it's right. I let go way later than I had anticipated. And I remember the thought being like, I'm going too fast, but I'm in it. Let's just see what happens. And I just tucked it and went like right over Nate's head, landed, and was like, okay, we're done. Let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, but you're a veteran by getting towed in by cars, because you've got loads of clips like that over the years. But I wouldn't want the thought going through my mind like of not being able to trust the driver while getting to. I'd be like, what if he like crunches the gears or stop, or like I don't know. It's one of those. It's like I think of it as like going to do a really scary stunt and getting someone to film it who like you don't trust to be able to like operate the camera, and you're like, so not only am I having to worry about this drop reel, I'm also having to worry if this person's going to chop my head off or like zoom out too much or like screw up the clip. So I'm not actually concentrating on the trick anymore. I'm now worried that the guy's not going to like capture it properly.
Yeah. No, well, these guys, like, I trust these guys with my life.
Okay.
You know how it is. It's funny because I don't really skate with other people anymore. I skate with the people that I know.
Yeah.
And even like, if we go to the skate park or something, other people are around, that's cool. And we'll just have like a light session. But if we're out street skating, I don't want a lot of people around anymore. I want people that I know. So I'm jumping into the street or doing any other element that can come up when you're street skating. I rely on these guys. And so, yeah, Troy is like, doesn't drive a stick regularly, but he knows the mechanics of it. And it was a wide open parking lot. And I also, with that trick, there wasn't a gap that I needed to clear. So if I came up short, or if something happened, if a car pulled out in front of us or something, like Nate would have seen that and let us know. It was pretty safe.
Okay. I love it when Americans say drive a stick, because that's like, it's really uncommon to have automatic cars here. So like pretty much every car has a gear stick. So whenever like loads of my family are from the States, and whenever they talk about driving a stick, I'm like, we just call it driving a car here. There's like all cars have sticks. So yeah, that's very funny.
It's the opposite here.
Yeah. I also loved what was it? I like there was some really good like little creative ones in it as well. I like the wall ride to the mono roll, full cab out. Do you guys call
that was
those
one of my
mono
favorites?
rolls? I think
that's what I call them.
Right. Okay. I look, just sometimes when you use terminology that comes from the 90s and people are like, what the hell are you talking about? And yeah, right, okay. I like the soul to slide to cab 270 into the wall as well. That was, yeah, that section held up.
That was my favorite trick of the edit. That one was a battle. Grant and I were filming that for over an hour. I think there were like 60 or so clips of me just like falling over the wall, landing over just eating shit. And I remember after I landed it, I sent that to Mike, and he happened to be touring with the Them guys at the time.
Okay.
And I was so stoked because he was like, I just showed the whole car and everyone just went nuts. So that was like, that felt really good. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's a keeper.
It's a proper like 2020/2021 trick. It's got all the different elements in it there. It's got the random obstacle. It's got the mixing, you know, wizard skating with street skating. And I could imagine that would have taken a lot of efforts because, yeah, if you don't time the slide right, then you're just basically going to crash into the wall. If you do it if you do it too early, you're going to run out of juice. Yeah, there was a lot going on in that.
Took a lot of figuring out both my skating and also Grant's filming, and I think we needed like 60 tries to get it just right, both the trick and the filming. If you saw some of the early attempts, it was just, this is pathetic. What are you doing? But it worked out. And I still got to like rom out about like, you know, the pros digging my shit. So
I think that's one of those things that it doesn't really matter what age you get to, when there's still going to be a certain element of that when it's, even if it's people that are younger than you or whatever, but if you respect them or you respect their ability, and if they give you recognition, then you're like, oh, I feel validated in some way. So yeah. I never ask anyone about this, but your setup, I don't care what people wear on their feet. I don't care what size, you know, wheels or frames. You have got the weirdest looking skate setup. Like you've got these tiny ass little skates, are they like XS shells?
Yeah, they're extra small guns.
And then you've got these huge frames sticking out the front and the back. Like actually, like the base of the frame is sticking out the front and back of the boot. Those symmetric
sick, right?
frames, are they like XL frames or large frames?
Yeah, they're the large. Those were the large symmetric frames.
Like those aren't skates. Those are skis. Those are street skis. Talk me through the inspiration for that.
Well, I just like it.
That's not a good enough answer, I'm afraid.
So back when I used to skate very, very fast and do a lot of gaps and jumps and things, I found that longer frames gave me more stability. Okay. Just when you're landing something, there's less chance of you falling forward or back. You can lean on your heel or your toes a little bit more, and you have a little bit more leeway there.
Right.
Currently, and toward the end of the filming for this stuff, I actually went back to a pair of Create Originals smalls. And so that's what I'm skating now. I think that I should have probably done that a long time ago, but the Creates weren't available for a long time. And I had a couple sets of the symmetrics sitting around. And so I figured, well, this is working, so I'll just keep using this.
Okay.
But I think the smaller Creates, I also have them rockered. It's like a 58 in the middle. And I think right now it was just like a slightly used 58 on the outside. And the shorter frame now gives me just a little bit more maneuverability when I'm doing stuff like swivels and that kind of stuff. I'm not really jumping giant gaps anymore. So I kind of grew out of that phase.
I mean, I would like to hope not, because it's, you know, it's problematic to your health and wrists and hands. And it seems like you need those these days. So yeah.
Yeah. And I've had like back issues ongoing. And so just kind of, I don't know, I guess trying to be smarter about my skating, trying to stay healthy and doing tricks that I am less likely to get, you know, real banged up doing. That's kind of my approach right now.
I mean, you say that, but then less than 5 minutes ago, you just told me you've injured yourself every summer skating. So what are you?
Yeah, I learned from it. That's why this edit came out.
Right. Okay.
At least, I don't know. We'll, maybe it's luck. Maybe it's just skating more consistently. I find that to be really important. Having people around you that motivate you to do it is crucial. So
yeah. Fair enough. Plus, it's a dangerous game wearing those symmetrics now, because, you know, Mike Torres famously dumped his in the bin. So you might create some beef if you start wearing those in front of them. He's like, I'm not using this footage. Mike's got beef now with symmetrics.
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with his beef. And I'm not going to raise any drama on this podcast. Like it's fine, but that had something to do with like, oh, Creates are available now. Cool. I don't really want to skate these anymore. They start, after a while, they start like making that really awful clicking sound. I don't know if it's something I'm doing wrong, but after a while, the frames for me, like the axle doesn't lock down anymore, and they make. I hate having sounds come from my skates.
Yeah, I can't deal with noise. Like noisy skates are a massive turn off. Like when you hear people have with those like anti-rockers that don't have bearings in them going past you, and it's like, and you're, no,
Yeah.
get that away. That
I can't skate with you. Sorry.
yeah, it's horrible. It's really horrible.
But I'm also really tight with Leon and what he does. Everything he does, the shop task and the wizard movement. You know, so I kind of decided I'm gonna just my aggressive setup. I like creates. They work great for me flat. So that's where I went.
Nice. I think this is the longest I've talked about hardware in this podcast before. I'm turning into mushroom blading. Those guys are gonna start sending me DMs, being pissed at me. I've got a theory about this, but I want to hear your take on it. Why did Mike choose to call the section Sinner? Or was that your idea, or what was the motivation behind that?
That was Mike's idea. And I can give like my interpretation of what ended up happening with the edit, okay, but I can't really give. Mike and I we haven't even spoken on the phone or in person since the edit dropped and since I saw it. I sent him a couple texts last night just saying, hey, this is probably going to come up. And I don't know what your vision was exactly with this, but I can give my interpretation. And so all of the footage in this edit was filmed by us in Rochester. Yeah. And then we just sent Mike all the footage. And it's hard to, I'm not a video editor. I have an idea of how it works, a pretty good idea, but Mike is one of the best. And for me to say, hey, here's all this footage, the audio's fucked up, some of the clips are just shit. I need you to fix all the lighting, all the everything. And also I want it to look like this. I want it to be to this song. I can't make demands on someone like Mike who's doing this on his own time. But we talked about songs. I threw out a couple ideas, and I don't know, in the last year or so, I've been getting really into, I did like a deep dive of Prince, all of Prince's music. And that brought on a lot of like 70s and 80s disco and soul music. And in my, what do they call it on Spotify? Your like
recommend
the list that they make of this, the music that you're listening to.
Was it Discover New Music or something that's called? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's that, but it makes a list of all of your top played songs currently, and it just lets you just loop them. Anyway, Grace Jones ended up on that list. And this is the first edit that like legit solo section that I've had since I came out to the rollerblading world.
Yeah.
And so I wanted it to be, if we could make it work, something that is like, oh, this is a gay rollerblader. And something that's unapologetic, that if someone's watching it that doesn't skate or doesn't know who I am and might have a problem with that, it might make them feel uncomfortable. And I'm fine with that. Something that just, I think we could have taken it farther. Originally, I wanted the entire song to be Grace Jones, I Need a Man.
Okay.
But because it's disco and it's just so repetitive, Mike tried and he's like, dude, I don't even know if I can use this song. And that's part of why it took so long for it to come out, because he had a vision as well. And it just took some time to develop that and make it what it was. So
right. I was wondering whose idea the second song was, because I was like, that's very like on the nose. And I was like, did Tim want that, or did Mike suggest it? You're right, okay.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I guess my interpretation of the edit with all the older footage of me, I mean, some of the clips in that, I'm 13 years old. It's over 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so like I see the section as being like allegorical, like it's telling a story of my being an awkward teenager, adolescent kid, really not knowing who I am, where I fit into the world. And then moving forward to my current skating. And I think when I watch it, I look more comfortable on skates. I am more comfortable on skates. I'm yeah. But when it transitions into the Grace Jones thing, it's like, oh, fuck yeah, this is who I am. And I don't know, I wish like seeing the old footage of myself, I remember how I felt like in that moment. I wish I could be like, yo, Tim, you're going to figure it out. It's going to be fine. You're going to be, when you're on your 36th birthday, you're going to be skating in an edit that everyone sees around the world to Grace Jones. That's like, oh, this is a fucking gay skater. And that's cool. And then you're going to be on an international podcast talking about it. Like, you're going to be fine. And I wish I could say that to my younger self. I wish I can, I hope that message is heard from younger skaters who are either not sure of themselves, who may have be questioning their gender identity, all of these struggles that we go through as we come into adulthood.
Yeah.
I wish I had this kind of example as a kid. So just trying to be that. Obviously, calling it sinner is another aspect of the edit. And there's a constant, me coming out on Facebook to the rollerblading world doesn't mean I'm out in my life. It's a constant process. I work in an industry that is pretty like hyper masculine, straight driven, that kind of setting. And so like, I assume my coworkers know, but I don't know that. And so, for example, when we had just finished the trailer, I think it was the day that you messaged me about doing this. Okay. And I showed my coworkers that edit, like one by one. These people I work with every day. These are good friends of mine, but we don't talk about my personal life. And at lunchtime, we're sitting around a table. There's 4 of us. And my coworker, Pete, says, so what's up with the sinner thing? And I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. Because I don't know if Pete knows I'm gay.
Right.
And it's a long discussion. So, for in some instances, and it's just, it's a constant thing. Like, okay, here we go. Is this going to be cool? Is this going to be awkward? And no, they were totally cool with it. And I was like, well, some people might not be okay with that. Some people consider me a sinner. And my coworker, Corey, sitting across from me, he says, well, fuck them. And yeah, fuck them. But it's more complicated than that.
True. But so, you would like to think that in this day and age, more and more people would be of that, attitude, just being like, this doesn't need to be a discussion. This doesn't need to be something that you have to explain to me. I don't have to understand it. I just should be like, oh, like you love people of the same sex, right? What's the big deal?
Yeah. But
yeah, so that's what I want to ask, because obviously I've been a fan of your skating for years, and I remember my other favorite section of yours is, oh God, what's it called? Mac Tim Round 2, Knowing Mac Tim Round 2, is that what it's called?
Oh, yeah.
And in the middle of that, Mike uses an audio track that just keeps like repeating the word God, and it gets more and more intense, and it keeps saying like God over and over. And I was like, is there a theme going on here? And he's revisited that. Like, why did you ask him why he used that in that previous edit? Like, it just seemed it seemed like very intentional or something. It seemed like there was an inside joke there or something that you guys were both colluding on. I don't know. And then when I saw the new section was called Sinner, I was like, right, there's something's up here.
I'd like to say that it was all planned and we were like building this over the last 8 years or so.
Oh, I don't mean you were right.
Like
So Mike's like, right, Tim. So you're going to come out, right, and then in 4
yeah,
years we're going to release a new part, right, and it's all
yeah,
going to make sense. It's the Matrix. It's all going to come together, right?
So
No,
yeah, you got it. That's it.
right.
No,
Cool.
no, I mentioned that to him last night when we were texting back and forth, and he's like, this one, that kind of like sinner redemption, religious sort of undertone, that theme worked better,
Okay.
and landed better, I think, than the last one. Basically, the last one, he sent me that audio track, and I was like, sure, whatever, do your thing. Like, you're the one making this.
You're like,
And we didn't really have
weird,
much
but okay.
Right. I mean, that was before I was out to rollerblading. Mike's one of the first people that I ever came out to. We lived together years ago, and basically I started dipping out on weekends to go see someone, and he was concerned for like, what are you doing? Are you doing drugs? Like, what's up? And I was like, fuck, okay, I was
gonna say, was that like his go-to? He's like, oh shit, he's like Tim's taking drugs and he doesn't want us to know, and that's why he's disappearing on us.
Right, and that's the only logic. I mean, that sounds reasonable to, if Mike's one of my best friends of all time. Like, I've known Mike since I was like 11 years old, and I knew that he would be okay with it. He was surprised because I mean, this is back in like 2005 maybe, and I think we had
6 years ago. Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
And we had, there's a different idea of what it means to be a gay man in the world back then. Because I don't present myself in an effeminate way, or I don't have a lisp or whatever, I'm very good at, like, what do they call it? Like code shifting, code changing.
What? I don't know what that term is.
Like, so.
Oh, right. You mean like a turncoat? Is that what you? I don't know.
Code shifting, I think is the term.
Code shifting.
Yeah.
Right. I've never heard that term.
Oh, I might have it wrong, but I don't think about this stuff very often. But basically, like, the Tim Adams who goes to work every day and works as a welder in a performance auto shop is not the Tim that you see out at the gay bar at 1:30 in the morning with all of his best friends. The things that I talk about, the ways an example is not really coming to me right now, but it's a matter of being, one, keeping myself safe, and being able to present as like this masculine fucking dude, bro, whatever. But that was part of, I think, what surprised Mike. He's like, oh, wait, what? Like, that's not how gay people act,
Right. Okay.
So that's all.
I mean, what's stopping you from being masculine, burly, like doesn't mind hurting himself guy, and also being a guy that loves other guys like that you can be that?
Yeah. But there is a difference in culture. It's hard to explain. I don't really want to get into all of that.
Like,
stuff,
I think I understand what you mean. Yeah, and it obviously depends on the demographics of the people that you grew up with, and whether they've ever left the small town or whatever that you grew up in, or whether they've ever been to university or met, people from different cultures or backgrounds or whatever. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different dynamics in play when it comes to how people respond to things like that, or the experiences they've had in their life that informs how they react when people give them that kind of information.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What were I don't remember what we were talking about. It was something about Mike. The God thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically he said, yeah, you didn't fit his idea of what a gay guy was.
Yeah, but he was always super supportive. And I there may have been some of that discussion back then between the two of us when we were developing what that edit was going to be. But my main memory of that edit was it was the first one where I wasn't skating USDs in the second part.
Yeah, because when it right, sorry, right, I'm getting mixed up now. Right, you're talking about in Mac 10 round 2 because you were wearing the SSMs in the second part.
Yeah.
Right. You weren't skating for SSM, right? You were just, or were you?
No.
Right.
No.
Okay. I was just because
No,
you were wearing multiple pairs, and I remember in a couple of clips you had an SSM T-shirt on. So I was like, did he just switch sponsors? Right. Okay.
No, I just
Because you had a
I
white
was
pair and a
slow for
black pair.
USD. What's that?
You had a white pair of SSMs and a black pair. Is that right?
Yeah, and I also had another. I don't even remember. I know I had the John Bolinos, and then the white ones, whoever those were, and I had a different pair before that.
I can't remember. Yeah. Okay.
But at that time, I had been like flow for USD for a long, long time, and just kind of got tired of it. It wasn't any like one thing that happened, but I was just like, I don't feel like. I feel like I'm putting in more than I'm getting out of this, and just bought a pair of SSMs.
Okay.
Well, I tried a pair and then bought a pair.
Right. Yeah, because you were putting out regular content for USD. That I remember just very much of that time enjoying when you brought a new section out, because in that era it felt like everyone was just skating handicap rails, or every aggressive section that came out was just like grind. Whereas I knew whenever you had a new part coming out, you were either going to be jumping from wall to wall, or finding some weird transfer, or skating horrible like banks that no one else wanted to touch. Mm-hmm. And yours were always a kind of refreshing change from the monotony of people just trying to go as tech as they could on rails and ledges.
Yeah. Handicap rails to this day bore the shit out of me. I don't do any switch ups really. I went through that phase back in like 2000.
I know.
I used to be able to like full cab true top horn on command. I could do all the switch ups and the things that everyone was doing back in California in the early 2000s. And it just I just didn't find it very interesting. And so started, I don't know, my approach to skating has always been like, I want someone who sees this, who doesn't even skate, to be like, damn, that's sick. And to me, someone doing like tap dance moves on a handicap rail isn't going to be very impressive to someone who doesn't skate. And it's not for that reason. I don't care about impressing people necessarily. That's just the avenue that I ended up taking. And also doing like moves that like you and skating obstacles that you can't skate on like a skateboard or do on a bike.
Yeah.
And I don't do that like consciously at this point. It's just like I like doing front sides and sole variations. Also, I have really bad knees and ankles, and I don't. That's just as far as the health thing. I should stretch more. But it's just convenient for me to just hop on a rail and do a front side. It feels good.
That's what I was going to ask. That's my only complaint about your new part. There are a lot of front sides and back sides. A lot.
Hell yeah. That's a complaint?
I don't know.
Oh my God, Davey.
Well, you know. Timothy, right. Because, and it's not the first time you've been criticized for that, is it? Because I have just seen a little unearthed gem called Physical Phenomenon, and Mike is giving you into trouble for the same thing in that section where he says you've got too many frontside royales.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to show about 10 or 15 royale variations on different spots. Yeah. I
mean, it's a throwback to Randy Spicer. We're just paying our respects.
Okay.
But yeah, I know I go through phases where I'll do a certain trick way more than I need to because it's fun and it feels good. I feel I'm in a position right now where I'm an adult. if you don't like my skating, like, I don't care. And if you do, or it inspires you to go skate and skate differently or do a front side and be okay with that, like, that's great. I don't have to represent any sponsor or like the cool trend in skating. It's cool to get some recognition for it. It was great when Dan reached out and said, "Hey, we'd like to make this a Blader Union thing." Because I had planned to just put it out on like my Instagram, and maybe a couple hundred people would see it, and that's that. It kind of snowballed into a much larger project.
Yeah,
and I'm happy it did. I think it's good, and I'm glad that people are watching it, and the feedback has been pretty positive. So
yeah, it was awesome. There is, yeah,
even with the front sides.
Even with the front sides, well, you touched on something quite interesting there. I think there's a certain freedom to getting older and maybe even not stepping out of skating, but just having a certain like distance from it in a way, because when you're a kid, or when like most of us started, like I started in my teens, there's a lot going on, because like you mentioned earlier, there's this path of self-discovery, and obviously your path was a lot more complicated because, you know, you were coming to terms with being gay. But, you know, being a teenager is difficult enough, like just trying to find some sense of self, some sense of identity, not really understanding like and I think that's why there is a lot of things like homophobia and like sexism and stuff like that with teenage boys, because they're very insecure beings. And
For sure.
it's one of the easiest ways to attack someone is to attack their masculinity. So boys lash out at other boys by doing that. But it's really interesting when you get older, because you just stop caring as much what other people think. And like you said, like you put it apart. And before, if you got negative feedback about it, or like when, oh, that guy's like, I don't like that guy's style, or why doesn't he skate this? You'd be more inclined to take offense to it or to take it to heart. Whereas now you're just like, I don't care. Like, this isn't going to ruin my day.
Yeah. I've probably been skating longer than you've been born, than you've been alive. So like, I don't know, there's some of that. But I think it's just a matter of being comfortable in your own skin, and carrying that in like that sort of confidence into skating. I don't know. You do it so long that it's just like, I don't care. Like, I'm skating with my friends and someone picked up a camera and started filming it. Like, obviously it's bigger than just like having toys on our feet and being children, but in a way we're kind of just like fucking around on wheeled boots. Like,
yeah.
And I think there's a reason we do it. Like, it's fun and it's social and it's all of these. Why wouldn't I want to? And it's exercise, and it's there's I don't know, just a blast.
Yeah. Something just stuck in my mind there. You said earlier that, you know, when you spoke to people in your work and your lunch break, and you mentioned the section, do you not socialize with anyone from your work outside of work? Like, are none of those people friends in your personal life, or are they all just work colleagues?
That's a good question. They know that I skate, because actually my boss, the owner of our company, skates still to this day. And I grew up like skating with Emery and all the guys at the roller rink, like those days when I was like 9-10 years old, getting dropped off on Friday night, getting picked up at midnight or whenever they closed. And so when Emery pitched the idea of hiring me to the group, he was like, "Yo, check out this guy's skating." And he showed them like some, I think it was the whatever edit where I get pulled by the limo as the last trick.
Right.
And Justin is like, such a little fuck, like that section.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah.
And so they know that I skate, but I also work in a shop where that's a huge hobby of mine, building cars and racing cars. And so, yeah, I'm really good friends with them, but it's mainly through car stuff.
Right.
And the car community, just like any mainstream subculture or dominant culture, whatever you want to call it, you don't talk about LGBT rights and trans rights and issues like this very often. And for the sake, actually, well, when I got the job, like I was on the job for a couple of days, and my boss, Emery, and I went for a drive in his truck. We just had to run some errands. And that was when we talked about, like, okay, here's what I'm going to pay you. Here's the deal, even though you've already started. And he had mentioned, because he and Grant and Nate started a skate shop in Rochester a few years prior. It was called Rock City Skates.
Rock City, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a storefront right on Monroe Ave. It's, less than a mile from my apartment here. And it was an aggressive only shop. And it worked out for a little while, and then it didn't. And that was the thing. It was fine. It was something we did. It was cool. But anyway, Emery was telling me, he's like, yeah. And I remember when Grant and I were about to, like, kind of go into business, he got real serious. And he's like, Emery, hey, since we're doing this, I just need to let you know, I'm gay. And Emery's telling me this, and he's like,
you're like, well,
and I was like,
since you brought it up, I've got something to talk to you
right.
about.
I had no intention of doing that. He verbalized his response to Grant back then was, oh, dude, that's cool. Whatever. I don't care. And I was like, okay, well, yeah. And I was like, Grant's a great dude. Emery, so I got to tell you something.
It's like, why are all these guys coming out to me? What are they trying to tell me?
What, like hitting on me? No. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, dude. And that was that. But it was good to come out to my boss on the first or second day on the job, and know that was not going to be an issue going forward. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm friends with the people I work with. Our activities are very different from going skating and being social that way.
Okay. Right. So you just, like, you guys wouldn't all, like, I don't know, go to a bar or whatever, or go out for dinner together or any of that kind of stuff?
No, not really.
Right. Okay. That's fair enough.
Or, we eat lunch together every single day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, we're not going to hang out. We've had enough of each other by the end of a 45 hour work week,
Yeah. No, that's fair enough.
And then we're also there on the weekends. Like, the whole car thing, I'm in the shop. Usually I would be there right now if I wasn't talking to you, working on my own stuff. That's just as important to me as skating right now.
Right.
There's a little bit less of a history there, but that keeps me busy and keeps me just honing my craft for my career as well. So it's all connected in that way.
That's pretty cool. Right. So yeah, it's not just a job for you. It is like a vocation, because when you're not working and you're not on the clock and not being paid, you're in there working on passion projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And it's, I don't know. I'm very fortunate to be able to, like, tomorrow I have to go into work at 9:00. I'm excited to go into work at 9:00, and I don't mind that at all. People I work with, we're all in our, like, 20s and 30s. It's the kind of place where if I want to design a new part and bring it into production, I can do that. Right. And no one's going to be like, no, Tim, that's not how you do it. I used to work for my dad doing tires and oil changes and brake jobs. And
okay,
it's a very different atmosphere.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you used to work as a mechanic or in a garage. That's right. And now is it building parts, or I know nothing about this kind of stuff. So yeah, I just want, like, clarification on what it is you actually do.
Oh yeah. So I used to be an automotive technician, a mechanic, and got hired at my new job as a technician to work on the cars. But the new job, we're a performance shop. And so we build essentially race cars, mostly all-wheel drive turbo cars. Car people who watch this might know, like, our main focus is, our specialty is a Mitsubishi Evo.
Okay.
it's an all-wheel drive turbo car, kind of like a WRX, like a Subaru. But
you could literally just be saying, you could be making all of this up, and I'd be like, yeah, right, cool. I recognize
well,
the brand names. That's it.
To give context to people who do know car stuff, that's what we do. And I got hired to do that. And I'm a pretty good tech, but I'm not the fastest. And when I was hired, my boss told me, he's like, I want you to learn everything that we do here. And one of the main things we do is production and welding parts and just high-end fabrication, welding fabrication. And so coming from a job where I was making 10, 11 bucks an hour into this place where I have basically the sky's the limit as far as opportunity to learn and to improve and to gain skills, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to do that. And so I just started staying after almost every night and learned to weld over the course of like 6 months from the other guys who were doing it.
Okay.
And so that's what I do now. I don't even really work on cars other than my own. I'm making turbo kits and very fancy titanium exhausts and things like that for people who have a lot of money and want to spend it with us.
Right. Because it sounds like, it sounds like a technical endeavor, but it also sounds like something that requires a lot of creativity or a lot of like idea developing. So it sounds incredibly challenging.
It is. It can be, but it's something I do all day, every day.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't mean like that. I mean, as in, I don't. It doesn't sound like the kind of job that just any dummy off the street that likes cars can just do. It sounds like something that you have to be incredibly skilled at, and it appears as though you are.
Yeah. Not to brag, but I'm fucking pretty good at what I do. But also, like, I've applied myself, and really, I was any Joe off the street who was given this opportunity and took full advantage of it. So when people reach out to me and want to get into welding and stuff, I'm open to always discuss like technique. And my main advice is just go look on YouTube, because that's basically what the guys told me at the shop. Because there's all kinds of tutorials out there. And then just, if you have access to a welder, just pick it up and do it. And just put in,
you can learn pretty much anything off YouTube at the moment. So it's like I've lost count of it, because we bought a house last year, and I know I'm like the most useless stereotypical male going. Like anything to do with DIY or like, so even just like rewiring a light bulb, I'm like, I have no idea what the hell. So it's straight on YouTube, and then within 15 minutes it's done, and I'm like,
yeah.
My partner comes home and she's like, look what you just, and I'm like, manly man right here. Hell
yeah.
It was a 13-year-old girl on YouTube showed me how to do it, but manly man, yeah, right, in the flesh, right in front of you. So was it that like overriding passion for that and wanting to develop a career in that made you, not step away from blading, but just be like, oh, I don't want to dedicate as much energy to this. I'm now, this passion's taken over and I'm excited about this.
Yeah, that's part of it. I guess so. There's only so many hours in the day, and I think I mentioned like being motivated to skate. And at that time in the past few years, I just wasn't really that motivated.
Right.
And it could have to do with like nobody having in the past, we've done like videos, like crew videos. We're filming for this video. Everyone's going to have a section, and yours has to be good. Otherwise, next to the rest of them, it's like what, you can't not perform. And we haven't had that in a long time. But for whatever reason, it could have to do with Grant getting sponsored by Rossi's and being a complete powerhouse in that realm, and just being like, I skated with him yesterday. He's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, what are you like? Stop! Like, take it easy. We're just like, I'm filming him. I'm recording him on his phone for an Instagram clip. And I'm just like, wow, it's been, I haven't skated with him in probably like 5 months at this point. And so when he started skating and taking skating more seriously, I think that is contagious. That you know, that spreads, and I think that's important, to be around people who are motivating, inspiring, you know, whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I think that's the main change. I didn't have that for a few years, and then I don't know. We all just kind of woke up. At least, well, the few of us, 3-4 of us that still skate regularly in Rochester.
So basically, what I'm interpreting that to mean is Mike Torres moved to New York City and got a bunch of new friends and a new crew and just murdered the scene in Rochester. That's what you're saying. He killed off the local scene by leaving.
I'm not going to say it. You can. No, that's not that. It was a big blow, but Mike had moved he moved down to South Carolina like over a decade ago.
Right.
So he's been out of this scene for a long time. Now, though, Grant lives in Florida. So the pressure is on for basically me and Nate and our friend Troy, who's been coming out. He's in like our core group now. We've had conversations about this. Like, if we stop now, like, we're not going to be skating anymore. Like, eventually we'll be those rollerbladers who used to skate and don't anymore, and just get drunk at the bar every weekend or whatever it is. And we just made a decision, like, we don't want to do that. So we got to take responsibility for it. And I think we both did. Nate put out a part, I think in like late December. That Mike edited. That was all footage that I shot, that Grant shot, and Troy shot. And that was really good. And just like at this point, both of us, and Troy included, we're like, yeah, we're going to put something out at the end of the season. And we just got to kind of get back into it. We started that yesterday, but today it's raining out.
It's so funny that, yeah, like you said, you know, you guys obviously drifted towards other responsibilities, whereas Grant went the other way, because I interviewed Grant, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe longer. And he basically said that he'd quit all his adult responsibilities to just rollerblade full time, knowing full well that it wouldn't pay any bills, that it wouldn't result in a career, that he basically had nothing to gain from it. But he was like, no. He's like, I did the adult thing. He's like, I had the job. I bought a house. He's like, now I'm doing this for me. And I'm like, yeah, do it. Go. And he's been doing that for what, like 2 years now?
Yeah, I think so. It's been about 2 years.
Of course, his section in nights and weekends was amazing anyway. But of course, he's really good. He's skating more than he's probably skating as much as like I did when I was a teenager. Like he's out all the time.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Grant. He seems he's on the top of his game. He's a smart dude. He's happy in his relationship. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, and he's fucking really good skater. It's just like,
he's a really good, yeah.
So like, you know, you're around people that are that good every so often, like not very often anymore, unfortunately. I live in his house, by the way. I rent from him. This is his.
I was going to ask if you're still in the house that because you guys lived together in that house, didn't you? Is that right?
No, well, we lived in a different apartment years ago. And then he moved out when he bought this. And then I lived alone for probably 3 or 4 years. And then this place became available. And he just mentioned it to me one day. He's like, hey, would you be interested? I'll give you a really good deal. Like, I paid $500 for this place. Wow. It's a small apartment, but that frees up a lot of money to do other things that I like to do. And it's just me and my dog. So it worked out.
This isn't the one that's got a mini ramp. Is that?
Yep.
It is. There's a mini ramp in a garage on site.
Yeah. It's about 10 feet from my front door.
So you've basically got an all-weather training facility.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got no, right. Then you've got no reason for getting fat or out of shape or stopping skating, because you've literally got, you've got all the things that you need right there.
Yeah, I've got no good reason, but it happens from time to time. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, I don't enjoy skating mini ramp as
I was
much
about to say
as
it's one of
some.
those things. Yeah, if you don't like it, but I would just like to think that out of, you know, your natural competitiveness, you're like, Grant's like, oh, I'm coming up next month, and you just train on the mini ramp for like a few sessions, and he comes back and he's like, whoa, you're killing it on this thing.
Yeah, no, like I can skate mini ramp, and I'm pretty good at it.
Right.
I just don't get much joy from it. It's kind of like skating a handicap to me. I'm not a very technical skater, so you can only do so many front sides and back sides. Obviously, I can do more grinds on a technical tricks on a mini ramp, but I don't know. It's boring.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. You mentioned Mike. Mike showed me that old video because I think it was Daniel that brought it up. Basically just saying, oh, if you interview Tim, you have to ask him about this trick. And he mentioned some waterfall. I can't remember the name of it. And then I asked Mike about it, and I was like, I've got no idea what he's talking about. And Mike just wrote back, that's the scariest trick I've ever filmed in my entire life. And then he showed me the clip, and because it's obviously Mike's filming skills weren't at their peak then, and it was kind of difficult to like tell what was happening until the very end when you zoom out and you can see that there's a fast flowing river, there's what appears to be some kind of rapids underneath, there's a massive drop, and it's nighttime. So my question is, why would you decide to disaster a rail that goes into a fast flowing river in poor light?
Well, I'll tell you why.
Because that, see, when you say it like that, when I was describing it to myself, I was like, that just sounds like suicide. That's lunacy. Why? Like,
So at that time, I was working in a call center, and I was going to college, and I had this job it was doing like it was a nurse triage center where we took like overflow calls for people who had different insurances, had to call before they went into the emergency room, whatever. So it was this job, and my hours were like 3:30 in the afternoon until midnight for a good couple years of my life. I was also going to college full time, and it didn't leave much time to skate. And so that particular night, I think it was like a Friday night, Mike had an apartment just right downtown, and it was a place where we'd all hang out and get drunk or whatever, and just, shoot the shit. And so that night I'd gotten out of work. They were skating downtown. I think they were skating downtown. And I think it had just been like a stressful week for me. And I was just kind of like, yeah, let's fucking skate. You guys got cameras? All right, let's do this. And there was a different move that I wanted to do at that same building, and I still to this day have not done it. Maybe I'll do it this year, but it's basically a natural launch in the sidewalk to like a good 10 to 12 feet, and then just a cement wall that you have to launch and land over. And I was really trying to get myself mentally prepared to do this thing, because you don't know how the launch is going to throw you. You don't know if I'm just going to like run into this wall. It's just a very awkward thing. And I finally just gave up on it mentally. And I was like, you know what? Like, why don't I just like jump on that rail instead? That seems less scary to me right now, because I had just fucked my whole focus up.
yeah,
Overthinking it, psyching myself out. It just wasn't happening. And Mike's like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah. I mean, what? We got a couple cameras." He's like, "Well, no, but my apartment's right there. We can go get the second camera." And I was like, "All right. Well, I just like talk myself into this shit sometimes." And I'm like, "Well, all right. Well, if we get a second camera," and he's like, "I'm there. I'm gonna go get it right now." And I was like, "Shit. All right, now I got to do this thing." And like all my best friends from that time in my life were there. Like Dan from Blader Union was there.
right.
Like he's in that video. And so I just figure like, I'll just stay on the safe side. And a bunch of the times, I probably jumped on the rail like a dozen times. And it, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because it was nighttime or because of whatever mental state I was in that night. You know, obviously like totally sober. I don't mean it by like that,
Yeah.
but just like I need to do something tonight. If it's not jump over that wall, I got to get this energy out of me, and that's what happened.
I love how you're like, I love how Mike's like, it's one of the most terrifying things I've ever filmed, and you're like, yeah, it was an afterthought. I had another plan and that fell through, so I just settled for this.
And that's how it went down. I remember that night like crystal clear. I remember the first time I jumped and landed on the rail, I fell and my hat fell off. And it was a hat that I had. It was an England hat. It had the lion, like right, it was one of like the first England hats that ever came out. And it almost went into the river. And I was like, oh shit, that was scary. I almost lost my hat. And someone heard me say that. They're like, what the fuck are you, what's wrong with you? And that was something that like stuck with that, I don't know, that memory.
Yeah. When I saw the footage initially, I was like, oh, that's not that scary. And then it zoomed out and I was just like, there's a lot going on there, a lot to process. Yeah, like you guys seemed like you had an amazing crew back then. Yeah, you had, because I watched that whole video and it basically just seemed like the Dan Barnes and Arsenio Patterson like demo, and then other people got involved. And because you were obviously sponsored by, was it USD, was it BHC as well? Were you sponsored by, well, obviously that was much later, but, and
yeah,
Dan Barnes he was Flo for Mind Game, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was he sponsored by Salomon as well, or did he just ride the skates?
I think he was sponsored by Salomon at some point and they went out of business and he just ended up skating the skates.
Right.
Later on, I think skated Razors for a while and was,
I think I remember
like
that,
flow for them or something.
Because it just seemed kind of like, so you guys had the talent, you had the filmer there documenting it, and you guys were getting around because, there's footage of you guys in like Atlanta, Detroit, and you're skating with people who were like, there's clips of like Walt Austin in that video and Don Bambrick, and it was like Mind Game era Don Bambrick. So basically he was pro for Mind Game at the time. But it just never seemed to kind of take off for any of you guys, which I found really surprising because, like the talent was there.
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't a very good advocate for myself, personally. I can't really speak to like Dan's situation or the other guys. But with USD, I don't know what my problem was, but I had this attitude of like, no, I want them to see my skating. And I want them to like invite me on. And it ended up just being like, okay, we'll send you skates and we want you to put out this online content, this edit or whatever. And for me, that was motivation enough to just like keep putting out shit that I was excited about. But it got to the point where they'd be sending me a pair of skates maybe every like year and a half. Okay. And I at a certain point, I got to the point where I would see other people on the team who were flow being given big opportunities, traveling to Europe and all this shit. And I was just like, what? Like, you didn't even like consider me for that? And that was for me kind of the beginning of the end.
But from what I understand from speaking to people over the years, most people that benefit from those kind of relationships are the people that do reach out. Because like Dustin Warbeski once told me, like he was obviously living in Barcelona for like the best part of God knows how many years with Richie Eisler doing the Powerhouse thing. And he said that never would have happened if he didn't like throw his hat in the ring. So Richie was going anyway. Like Richie had already pitched to USD being like, oh, I've got this idea. I can film, I can edit, da-da-da-da. We'll get an apartment, we'll get a bunch of guys over. And it turned out Dustin had like helped plan the whole thing, but USD didn't know that. So at the very last minute, just before Richie went to move to Barcelona, Dustin emailed USD or the conference or Power Slide or whatever, and was like, oh, I was involved in orchestrating this, yada, yada, yada. I can film. I can also take photos. Why don't you let me come over and be the photographer? And if he hadn't done that, he would never have been there and got to live in Barcelona and experienced all that stuff. And I think a lot of that kind of thing happened in skating, where it's like, if you don't reach out and ask, your dog is kicking off. Like, if you don't
Lesson
reach out and
learned.
ask, you don't get. So it's like what you go back to saying, like male fragility, being like, well, no, like they should want me. Like I shouldn't ask them to want. They should just want me.
Yeah, I think for me it was more the fear of rejection, and then being like, no, we don't really like your shit. So, I don't know. I don't know what my problem was. I think I was also like humble to a fault. I was like, well, come on, my dog is whining at me right now. Come here. Well, lay down. Stop. He's very temperamental.
He's doing to you what you did to USD.
What I should have done to USD. Yeah.
So how did you get on USD in the first place then? Because they must have reached out to you to sponsor you, no?
Yeah, they did. Oh, come. Mike made an edit that, or the original Mock Tim,
right?
Back in the day at the skate park, younger kids, the younger generation saw me skate and they thought I skated really fast, and they gave me that nickname.
I mean, you do. Like, yeah, even most recent, you still skate fast.
Well, I like to skate fast. It feels good. So, but that, I was going to school. It was after I moved away from Rochester, just like a half hour south of Rochester. I went to a local university here, and I didn't know about any of this, but Mike had all the guys come over and set up like a studio and interviewed people talking about my skating. I don't know if you've ever seen this edit. It's not really out there. No. Yeah, so it was called Mock Tim, or Knowing Mock Tim, or something like that. And the whole first like couple minutes of it is like Nate Hall and Dan Barnes and all of the homies just basically making me look like a rock star, explaining my skating and my approach to skating.
Yeah.
And then it cuts into this edit where I'm like really like pretty, like skating pretty powerfully. And that was, I don't know, and then Mike just sent me that one night, and I was like, I was like in tears watching the thing, because it was like, wow, I didn't know that. Like, it was just a very nice feeling to get that kind of recognition, and from your friends that you respect and that you really look up to and hold in high regard. And I think there was sort of like a campaign. This is back in the BMAG message board days, where people were like, dude, USD, like, what the fuck are you doing? Send this kid some skates. And they did. They reached out, and I don't even remember at this point like who I was dealing with. Actually, it was probably Ollie Bennett. Yeah, Ollie Bennett.
Yeah.
Back then. And yeah, he was always really cool and really supportive of me in the early days. And then it kind of just, I don't know.
Well, there was, during that period, they kind of like changed hands of that job, changed hands a few times, because it seemed like loads of brands were just having team managers every few months, and there was no consistency, and a lot of skaters, as a result, like slipped through the cracks. But that's really cool that Mike Torres gave you the USD coup d'etat treatment. Like, that's like basically just got everyone bigging you up, and then your skating comes on. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess if it had to happen some way, that felt the best to me. That felt the most authentic.
Yeah.
To not have to ask and just be like, here's my skating, take it or leave it. And I don't know, they liked it. So.
Because, you put out regular promos for them. And
okay. Yeah, what the fuck?
So how did you get on BHC then?
I think it was the same kind of thing. Like, Mark saw some edit. Oh, I was wearing a Corporate Killers t-shirt in some edit.
Yeah.
And it was the one that said like BHC Corporate Killers forcing the businessmen, skateboarders, and corporate fucks out of rollerblading, something like that. I loved that shirt. I still have it. It's all faded now, unfortunately, but he saw me wearing that shirt in some edit and was like, yo, we'd love to have you on. They don't have much at the time. They didn't have much of a presence in the US.
Yeah, that's why I remembered thinking it was really random, because it was only like in the later years that they got Dre on, because obviously Mark became friends with Dre from visiting California and stuff like that, and they got Ski. Well, Ski was on first. They got Eric Perkett on, but yeah, I just remember being like,
and then Dom Sagona was on.
Dom Sagona, yeah, but all of those were like connected friends, kind of, because it was all like the California connection. But I just remember thinking, wow, Tim's a bit of a wild card in this team. Like that was a So yeah, it was cool, but it did seem like kind of out of left field. Yeah,
but I liked sort of their image and their messaging, and it all kind of suited where I was at the time. And I'm not really sure how that ended. It kind of just, we were filming for the Hooligans video.
Filthy Hooligans, yeah.
Filthy Hooligans. And I had a section ready to go. And it was fucking, I had footage ready to go. I was sending them footage for the video, and I was going to have like a full part in it. And I was really excited about that, because that's how you work your way up in these situations.
Yeah.
And someone on the team, one of the main guys, like got hurt. I think like Dom got hurt. And so it got delayed, and I was like sitting on this footage, and it's the kind of thing like you want people to see it, because now it's current, and like this is your skating, and you're skating skates that are current now, and in 2 years or whenever the video comes out, they're going to be, it's clearly old footage.
Yeah.
And so right around that time, I'm just sitting on it. I'm still skating, doing other stuff. But we had my friend Chris Troyer was making a video, and he made a trailer for it and just put the trailer up, and all of my BHC footage was in that trailer, or like some of the best clips of that were in that trailer. I'm like, fuck, like, all right, that's fine. I'll just skate. I'll just do more skating and reshoot the stuff. Everyone else on the team is still filming for it. I'll just keep doing that. And then I got hurt, or something happened, and I couldn't perform the way I wanted to. And so I had like a split part with a couple other dudes that I've never met, and quite frankly, like I can appreciate and respect their skating, but it didn't fit with mine. Okay. I don't think. And it was just kind of a bummer. It just, but that's rollerblading. Sometimes it happens that way.
Yeah, it's weird thing.
Yeah, I still love all those dudes. Mark is great. I haven't heard from him in a while, but yeah, they're still really sick.
How did Chris Troyer get your footage though? If you'd sent it for BHC, how did he end up with it as well?
He may have filmed it. It may have
okay.
technically been his footage. And he was just like, I'm making this video. I can't blame him. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah.
No, because there was this weird period in blading where that did used to happen, and you would see like the same footage appear in multiple videos, or it would be like second angles of the same trick in a different video, and you're like, why are these people not in communication? Like, how is this happening? And it just seemed like this kind of weird breakdown that, or either that, or if you were like a conspiracy theorist, you'd be like, are these people just trying to screw each other over? Or like, they're like, I've got the good stuff, you're not getting it. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I remember that era of skating. And I remember also being like, we're not doing that.
Okay.
And I mean, Chris's video, it was just some online thing. It was fun. We ended up, I think that was the one we premiered at a bar here. We like rented out a bar, and it was the first time, like we saw it all the first time together on a big screen and like that kind of thing. But it kind of fucked me over as far as the BHC thing, because like something happened, and you can only perform so long and so well when you get hurt like that. So
yeah. But on the upside, thanks to like how productive you guys were and having people like Mike, and you mentioned Chris Troyer as well, you've now got this massive back catalogue that, you know, when you're an old wrinkly man that, you know, can't even get out your chair, you can look back on that stuff and be like, because you guys have made so many projects, not even just your online sections. Like, you guys have made multiple full-length videos that even, you know, not just your section, like you can look back on the B-roll stuff or just the non-skating stuff in it or the stuff from other people, and it's just going to bring back so many memories. Like, you know, going on a limousine, like that weird broken ass limousine thing tour you did, like going to Canada with you and Mike and Grant, like, I don't know, all the wizard stuff, like the sections you guys made when you all did the Dustin Latimer arms, where you like do the hunch before jumping onto rails. that was a massive part of physical phenomenon. That was the first thing I said to Mike. I was like, wow, it's pretty obvious where you guys were getting your inspiration from, you know, in these teenage years. Because I remember all my friends used to do that as well. You'd get like the skinniest little scrawny kid, and he'd like try and bulk himself up before jumping onto a handrail, and you're like, that looks so strange. You're not that guy. Stop it.
Yeah. I used to try and like mimic Louis Zamora's skating, and didn't work out very well. I don't know.
That's you picked a tough one to try and mimic. That is, you know, that's a hard act.
But during the late '90s and stuff, everyone's doing this thing, skating, like you have there's no control over your limbs, and it's just not refined. And that was just how we did it.
Also, you're not short enough to mimic Louis Zamora. Like, Louis Zamora's style is very much like as a consequence of his stature. Like, like like anyone that's of, you know, average to tall height cannot have Louis Zamora. They cannot mimic Louis Zamora's style. It's just physically impossible. He's got short limbs.
Yeah, I'm not a very tall person. I don't know if you knew this.
I'd see. I didn't think you were tall, but Louis Zamora is exceptionally short.
I'm about 5'3".
Oh, okay. I did not realize
I'm about
that.
as small as it gets.
Right. Okay.
For an adult.
I didn't think you were that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you could probably pull off the Louis Zamora thing then.
Maybe now, if I tried to, like, actually, I don't know. I'm kind of over trying to
replicate another's interpretation of bleeding.
Yeah, for sure. But if you watch, like, even in the new edit, there's a shot of me, Nate's filming in this shot, and I'm giving Grant a high five. It's very brief. It's kind of toward the end. It's after I grind like a yellow fat boy rail. We call them fat boys here. And Grant's maybe like 5'6" or 5'7", and I'm like this much shorter than him. So
right, I've never met Grant in real life, but because he's skinny, it gives off the impression of height. So
yeah, and I think in that clip, Nate might be wearing shoes, and Nate's like, I think 6 foot tall, and so it makes us all look about the same height. But yeah, I'm a short guy.
Okay,
so.
See, that explains,
which has been helpful in skating, because I just tuck into a ball when I'm falling most of the time, and can just roll it out that way. I don't have to. I've never broken a bone skating.
Okay.
And so I've never had a major injury like that. It's all little stuff that just takes a while to heal.
Plus, it's a lot easier for shorter guys to have good style on skates, because there's less flailing limbs. When you've got, like, I'm like 5'11", and every time, I've never once seen a clip of myself and been like, keep those arms under control. Jesus Christ, they're all like just these big, lanky, skinny arms all over the place. So when you're shorter, it just feels like it's a lot easier to make it look compact or controlled or whatever. But that is pretty funny. There's something, I just totally lost focus of what I was going to ask related to that. No, it's gone. It seems so wild that you guys were so productive for such a long period of time, and now it feels like it's wrong. Like, even though none of the guys are in Rochester anymore, people from that era or from your friendship group, it seems like they've come into their own now. Like, Mike is literally considered one of the most respected filmers in blading at the moment. Yeah. Like, Rollerblade want to work with him. Them have worked, like, he's made multiple projects for them. He's made 2 Alex Brosco sections, like filmed sections with some of what could be argued are the most interesting bladers like going right now. People like Sean Keane, and just absolutely killing it. And then you've got Grant.
Yeah.
Grant's like got all these sponsors. It's unreal. Like he's skating for Rosie's, skating for Celtic, Oak City, God knows who else, and just absolutely going on a killing spree. Attending all these events, putting out content all the time, and it just seems like they're finally getting the recognition that they deserve. So
I think
it's got to be pretty crazy, as you being one of their like long-term friends, like to observe that and just be like, oh, that's really awesome. Like, look how my friends are doing.
Yeah, dude, I'm really happy for them. I mean, Mike, in addition to being technically skilled with a video camera, he just has a vibe about himself and an approach to skating that is, I can totally understand why someone like John Julio would be like, oh yeah, you're a fit for this group, because of his personality and his ability to like communicate with people in this like social activity that we do, but also in skating with me. And like, yeah, I'm not comparing myself to like the them team, but being able to like, for example, keep up with me has been like an ongoing joke that Mike and I have had all these years. And it's like, well, if you can keep up with Tim, you can keep up with Alex.
This is true. Like you charge about the streets. So if he's got years, he's basically had years of training.
Yeah. And so in addition to like being able to just like know the technicality of the camera and know what angle is going to look right or whatever, he's good enough at skating that he can keep up with these guys and know like what's going to look good. Mike is also so fucking good at skating.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say too much, but just watch out for what he's got coming out, because it's
I've been bugging him about Enter the Bodega for months. I'm like, can you just fucking release it already? And he's like, well, Augusto's dealing with it, and then I'll start like annoying Augusto, and he'll be like, oh, I've give it back to Mike. Mike's dealing with it, and I'm like, Mike, you lied to me. You like just tell me when it's coming out. But he's promised.
I've been getting the same runaround. But I've seen some of the raw footage, because if we get a clip that we're really excited about, we'll just send it to each other and just be like, oh fuck yeah. And so I've seen a lot of this stuff, and it is inspiring. It's all the things that you want to see in someone who's, I think he's like 37 years old now. And we're getting up there, but he's still learning new stuff. And I don't know, it makes me want to learn different foot movements, and I can't do toe rolls. Never done one. I want to learn them. Maybe this year I'll learn them. Now that I have a shorter frame, that might help.
I love how everyone complains about them going, oh God, blading used to be this and that, and now it's all toe rolls and cess slides. And I'm like, have you ever tried a toe roll? Like, toe rolls are hard as fuck. Like, like I've never held one for more than like a couple of feet. Like, if I could do that and I had that like in my skill set, I would do nothing but those. I'd do them into grinds, out of grinds, like just along pads. I'm like, anyone who says that has clearly never tried one, because no one who can do them thinks they suck.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I do like mono rolls in my edit, like, cause I can't toe roll. So I don't know. I got to work with what I got. So,
just thought that was a throwback reference. Like sometimes you get people doing, I don't know, they'll start doing like fast plants and stuff like that, and it's like they're referencing old sections and things, or like famous tricks from previous people. Like Colin Kelso's really big on doing stuff like that, like just like referencing blading's past, which is really interesting. Well, if you remember seeing it the first time round, but yeah, it's when you see people, because of all the rollerblading groups, it seems like every other day someone's like, oh, return to blading after 20 years, and they're like, it's really different now. And you're like, well, if it was still the same, that would be quite concerning. Like, like if you left blading back then and just returned to it and everything looked as you, like style, tricks, like obstacles, I don't know, your favorite skaters were still going, that would feel like Groundhog Day, and it would be really depressing.
Yeah, and everyone's still wearing like sweatpants and shit.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that'd be a sad state of affairs.
um, so yeah,
I've
it's
heard previous mention of sweatpants on your podcast.
I hate
I want to just mention that I join you in having never worn sweatpants. I don't even think in my life, but especially not skating. I always thought that shit was whack as hell and just looked awful.
yeah.
But I also had my own bad style habits as well. So, but they were
Oh,
always just jeans.
oh yeah, yeah. My fashion sense wasn't. It was awful. I just didn't want to look like that guy. I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get tortured at the session. Everyone would show up in the fiction joggers, and I'd have like one size bigger than my waist jeans, and people would be like, "You get the fragile male ego." People would be like, "Oh, you look gay. Why dress gay? Oh, you going to a bar after this?" And you'd be like, "Well, at least I don't look homeless. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take that. You can call me that. Like."
Mm-hmm.
You know, gay guys are fashionable. I was like, no girl is wanting to go with a guy with the ripped sweatpants and the size XXL t-shirt. So I'm fine with whatever slur you want to throw my way. Yeah. So
They looked at you the way we look at people with clicky like anti-rockers now.
Oh,
I don't know. It's like, what are you doing here? You can't be a part of our crew. Get your sweatpant game right, and then you can join us.
Yeah, no, like what?
But,
you're not even sagging your trousers. What's going on? And I was like, no, I don't want to see your arse. Like, why? Like, yeah. So yeah.
No, I look like shit still, but just didn't do the gray sweatpants.
Yeah. Plus, I just didn't understand the like ergonomics of it because I was like, surely if you fall once in the gray sweatpants, it's going to look like you shit yourself.
Mm-hmm. And it usually did.
Yeah, the aesthetics are just terrible. It's like when you see people skating in white jeans, you're like, why would you do that? Like no one is good enough that they don't fall in a session. So as soon as you fall.
I think some people may have pulled it off at some point for like a single session.
I would say that's wildly debatable, but okay. Yeah. I fall too much to be able to succumb to that. There was something I was going to ask. Oh yeah, so you did mention it, like the Facebook post that you put up, and then obviously the interview that you did with BMAG, where you talked about being a rollerblader and being gay. And I was just wondering, have you ever like looked back on that, like over the years, like looked back on your answers that you gave or what you said, and or even just looked at the Facebook post and like I don't know, looked at it with fresh eyes like years later?
Yeah, usually Facebook will remind me when it's the, on this day or whatever. And whenever I get that notification, most days, if I am on Facebook, I try and like just not be on there all day, every day nowadays. But I'll look and see. And like I'll read it about once a year. I recently sent it actually to Michaela because we correspond through Instagram a bunch. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Michaela is a trans woman that skates.
Okay.
And she's just like super badass. And so we like each other's posts and things like that. And it's just good to have friends that you can connect with on that level. But we recently exchanged stories about, because she had done an interview, I think with one of those outlets, and had never read my thing with BMAG. Right. And I happened to just reread it again after I sent it to her and was just like, oh shit. Like, I think I would have worded it differently now, but I think everything that I was feeling at that moment, at that time in my life, I still stand behind. That happened. My coming out was in response to the shooting at Pulse nightclub in Florida. And that's going to be 5 years this year. I think it was in like September. And I don't know, I guess that affected me pretty powerfully because it was, it's the first time in my life where I realized like, oh shit, I could have been there. like friends of mine who live in Florida, I didn't know anyone who was there that night or who died or anything like that.
Yeah.
But friends of mine frequent that nightclub. And if I happened to be in Florida visiting or something, like that could have been me. So we did all the vigils around here, and after about a week, you start to just process what had happened. And I still get, obviously, I'm getting emotional about it right now, just talking to you about it.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah, but I decided, like, I got to do something about this, because, like, I'm hurting right now, and I can't talk to people about it other than, you know, my gay friends or my direct family. At that time, I wasn't even out to my dad. So that was the main thing I decided I needed to do, was come out to my dad and the rest of my family. And yeah, I mean, like, as I had mentioned earlier in our conversation, like, coming out, it's like a constant process. And like, when I sent the trailer the night that Mike sent it to me, I sent it to a close family member. And at the end of it, and you've seen the trailer, I still love it. It makes me look like a fucking rock star. And at the very end, it says sinner. And this person, of course, asked, like, what's that about? And I was like, oh, well, you know, tried to kind of break it down. And at that time, I think I sent you the video, the Lil Nas X Montero video.
Yeah.
And I kind of put it in terms of that. Like, it's telling the story of my, like, coming out and this and that, and put it in terms of, like, I sent them the video, the Montero video. I was like, check this out. Like, how awesome is this? And this person is not of our generation and didn't seem to really vibe with that video.
I mean, even being, you know, a young person or someone, you know, that was born in a later generation, even watching that video, I'm like, this is still quite intense. Like,
yeah.
So,
and so I broke it down as well as I could, just kind of over the phone for this person. And at the end, I said something like, but don't worry, I'm not going to be, like, dancing on a stripper pole anytime soon. And their response was, well, thank God for that. And I had to say, well, wait a minute.
wait, try to say.
Like, what if I did want to dance on a stripper pole? Or what if I did present myself in a different way, or was, you know, more effeminate or whatever. And I had to call this person on that and say, like, that's a little homophobic. Like, that's
if I did want to do that, that should still be okay.
Yeah. And I don't do this to be, like, a pure, perfect, I got to call everyone out on whatever bullshit ideas they have in their head, but it's because I really care about this person deeply. And I want them to understand, like, I want them to gain perspective from having me in their life. So I think that's important to keep pushing in that direction in a loving way, especially for people that we care about.
You can challenge someone without picking a fight with them. Yeah.
And they understood, and this is an ongoing conversation, of course, but I don't know, like, it happens all the time. Like, yesterday I was on Facebook, and I'm a member of all these different automotive pages. And someone who friend requested me because they like my car or like my whatever Instagram, posted some meme that said, all these guys are like, I'm not gay. but then they take their car to a dealership to have their oil changed or something like that.
Right.
And so I have to decide, like, I don't even know this person. He lives in like San Diego, California or something. I'll never meet this person, but I have to make that decision. Do I say something, or do I just unfriend this person? Or do I continue to just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see that because, you know, I don't care. I did end up responding. I said, well, what does, I tagged him. I said, what does being gay have to do with doing your oil change or oil changes or whatever? And let it be. And this was just yesterday. And then as we had finished skating, we were walking into Nate's house last night at like, I don't know, 5 o'clock. And I was like, oh shit, that dude responded. Like he tagged me in his response. I'm like, all right, here we go. And his response was just, it means nothing at all. My apologies, Tim. And I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. Like those are the kinds of little victories, if you can call them that with people that I don't know, if they can say, oh shit, like I probably know a lot of gay people. Maybe it's not cool to use it as a derogatory term. And just, I don't know, it is just little stuff like that to keep the conversation going.
But that's a best case scenario outcome where someone's like, oh shit, like that's unintentionally offensive. Maybe I should rein it in. But there's obviously going to be other outcomes, but it's got to be exhausting having to deal with that as a gay man, like people being unintentionally offensive, like people thinking they're making a harmless joke and then not realizing that you're basically the butt of that joke as a result, or like they're offending, you know, you're like who you are, like like without malice, without, you know, they're not, you know, hurtful or hateful people, but just, you know,
most of the time,
just maybe ignorant or uncultured or uneducated or just have no experience of, either personally experiencing it or knowing anyone who has. So,
But it's the thing, it's not about me. I'm comfortable. I got a job. I've got a great group of friends. It's not going to affect me necessarily if this dude thinks calling things gay is appropriate or is an accurate way to describe something or whatever. It doesn't make sense linguistically, but that aside, like I'm more concerned about friends of his who see that, who might be this awkward 13-year-old kid that I used to be, and who are already confused as shit, and then see stuff like this, and it's like, oh god damn, like even, you know, what's his face over here, even he says that like there's something wrong with me, even if he doesn't mean it. And I think for a person like that, to see my post and say, and oh shit, like who is this guy questioning him, and say, oh, it says clearly he's LGBT, and his car's badass. Like that's cool. Maybe that's okay in this world. And to just, I don't know, break that cycle of just dumb shit.
And I know what you mean, because there's been, I've had a couple of discussions with people in the blading industry or pro skaters over the years, and they'll make comments on Instagram or on social media, or they'll make fun of something and use like a homophobic term, and it won't be, well, I'd like to hope it isn't like, you know, with malice, but then I'll have like private discussions with them and I'm like, you need to remember you've got a fan base. And they're like, oh, no one under 25 skates anymore. And I'm like, yeah, but maybe not as many, but there are still some people, like young, vulnerable teenagers, male and female. And, you know, you have to understand that comes with a level of responsibility. If you've got 10,000 or 20,000 followers and you say, oh, don't do that, it's gay, you know, for all you know, even if just one of those followers happens to be gay and they look up to you, it's going to, you know, several things are going to happen. They're either going to hate you because they're gonna think you're a piece of shit, or worse, they're gonna hate themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need to understand that if you say things like that to such a large audience that, you know, you've built up, then you have to take that with a certain level of responsibility and go, you know, I have to look out for people that, you know, if someone becomes a pro skater and gets their name on a skate, they have to accept that sooner or later they're a role model to someone.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get to just get, oh, I didn't ask for that, I don't want to be a bullshit, I'm really sorry, but it's like pop stars, and pop stars go, oh, I'm not a role model. Well, you signed up to be one.
Yeah.
And as a result, you have to act more responsibly. You can't just run your mouth and say whatever comes into your head.
For sure.
So,
I mean, and in a lot of cases, that could be the difference between life and death. Someone could see, like, dude, I'm not going to get into it like in detail, but when I was 18, I hit straight up like crisis mode. And came out to my mom. And if she hadn't responded the way she did, I don't know what I would have done. You know, like, and that's like, people, especially young people, kill themselves over this shit. And it could come down to someone being in crisis mode and seeing some pro rollerblader. I'm not going to like throw people under the bus, call something gay and, or, you know, call someone a faggot or whatever. And that could be someone's last straw, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I think we talked that topic to death.
Yeah, we did. Although I was curious,
but it's fucking heavy, and it should be, and it's like, we need to have these conversations. So
yeah, definitely. That is what I was gonna, because you mentioned in that article that you'd like, started kind of having like a secret life away from your skate friends, and you came out to Mike. And then you said that it was also very difficult coming out to your father. And I was wondering, like, was there a massive time gap between that? Like, did you have, like, were you basically having to keep this from like close friends and family for like a prolonged period, or was the time span relatively short?
Yeah, no, I came out to Mike, I'd say probably like 2000, maybe like 2004. And then I didn't come out to my skating, the rest of the group. So I was out to Mike and I was out to Grant, because Grant's also gay.
Yeah.
And it was funny.
That makes it easier.
Yeah. And I lived with Grant, and we had decided, like, I'm moving in with you, and this is convenient because I have a boyfriend and he comes to visit every so often, which was basically on a weekly basis. He's Canadian. And so we were crossing the international border to visit each other. And basically, when Dave would come to visit Rochester, Grant knew that the house is off limits for other skaters to come hang out.
Okay.
Which sucks, but that's where I was at that point.
Yeah, if you need that level of, I don't know, security while you figure stuff out, then that's, it's at least it's nice to have the luxury of that by living with someone who understands or is experiencing it as well. Yeah.
So to answer your question though, so that was 2004 until about 8 years ago that I came out to the rest of my rollerblading friends. So that's it's like 10 years.
Because that's a lot to put yourself through mentally. Because Grant was telling me as well that, you know, even though he came out and decided that he was going to be quite bold about it and be like, I'm not, I don't know, censoring himself or like, trying to curb it. But he said it was just exhausting having to come out to like every person he met. And it was like, I don't know, either if it was people from high school or work or just everyday life or family. And I'm like, when he put it in those terms, I was like, my God, that just sounds, it sounds like a lot to take on, because two of my closest friends are a gay couple that we hang out with all the time, but one of them, he only came to the realization that he was gay in the last decade. So in like his mid to late 20s. And I was like, that's a lot to take on, because then you've got friends that are basically going to be your last friends. You know, they're friends after university, friends when you finally settled down and decide to make a home. And then you just turn around to them and you go, oh yeah, like, you know, I was in that long-term relationship with a girl. I've now realized that's the complete opposite of what I want. And yeah, I would imagine that puts a lot of mental strain on someone.
Yeah. It's just, you're just living a double life, and you have to just have these separate boxes that, like, okay, now I'm doing the gay thing. And you can't, it's just a matter of, you want to incorporate, like, you don't have to have a separate, I mean, I don't know your situation, but I know you have a daughter. But like, or like a coworker would say, like, oh, my wife is this or whatever. And that's standard.
Yeah.
For me and Grant, it's sometimes not so standard. So we're working on it. But I'm at a point where I just don't give a shit anymore about what other people think. Yeah.
It must have been pretty awesome having Grant though, because like, you know, especially rollerblading during that time, it was that, like, like we all know, hyper masculine. We were getting picked on by skateboarders, and, you know, skateboarders were telling us we were soft and gay and all. And that became a thing where we, like, you know, pushed back against that so hard that we essentially became jocks ourselves, and, like, you know, bullied each other or anyone that we, you know, deemed to be soft. But it must have been some form of comfort to have someone that not only is your friend, like, as part of your crew, someone that you can skate with and enjoy your passion with, and someone that you can also have those very frank, open, raw discussions when you need to.
Yeah, for sure. And it still is. When he comes and visits, it's like therapy, talking to someone who knows so much about me, and kind of just catching up. We haven't had a chance to yet, but he's only been here a few days so far. So
he did also tell me that you guys used to fight like an old married couple and used to get into proper, like,
oh dude, we still do. We did
debates.
Yesterday. Yeah, we still do. We did yesterday. He told me I need to think before I speak sometimes yesterday. Like, those were his words. And I told him to stop being verbally abusive toward me. That was just yesterday. And I mean, he's the homie, love him to death, but sometimes can't stand him.
I think that's a mark of a close friendship. The fact that you guys can just, like, properly, you know how to wind each other up, and you can just do it at will. You can be like, oh, you're getting on my tits today, so I'm going to say what I know will trigger you. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm very fortunate to have the people around me that I do. Both family, skating friends, non-skating friends, work stuff. It's good to have that kind of support. Yeah.
I want to pull you up on one thing though. You know, you said that in the BMAG interview that you were in a long-term relationship and you're not anymore. And when they asked, you know, if you saw yourself being in a relationship or having a family or whatever when you're older, and you're like, oh, you know, if I am, great. If I'm not, I can handle that as well, because I live in this area and there's not that many intelligent, attractive gay guys. And I was like, see if the options are slim. Why not just move?
Like, the thought has crossed my mind. And I won't go too into detail, but I've talked to friends of mine about just the possibility of leaving Rochester and setting, just like, well, if this happens, if in X amount of years from now I'm still in the same position I'm in, I'll seriously consider that. And I've been telling myself that for years. So
right,
I guess you never know. And I'm still in that position. I've been single for 8-9 years now, and
no relationships in that time.
No.
You need to get back on weird, that. Right?
That's part of it is like, it's not just the something in the water in Rochester where everyone is fucking unattractive or something. It's nothing like that. I have so many good friends in Rochester. I'm an incredibly picky person. And to the point where it can, and it's not, I'm not bragging about this. I need somebody who is going to, and it's not just in relationships, in romantic relationships, it's everyone in my life. That's why I only like skating with the group of people that I skate with. I want the people around me to demand a lot of me and to push me to do the best that I can. And if I'm going to commit to someone to be in a relationship with, I need to know that I'm going to be just kind of improving every day and growing into the kind of person I want to be. And I just have very high standards for who that's going to be. And they haven't come around yet. So, and I'm fine with that. Like I spend a lot of time alone, like Monday through Friday. I go to work, I come home, I hang out with my dog and hop on social media sometimes. And just like that's what I'm used to. That's what I'm comfortable with. And maybe it'll always be that way. And that's fine by me. I'm kind of I kind of do my own thing most of the time. Of course, I love going out on the weekends and having social interaction with all my friends and going skating after work when it's like good weather and stuff. But I'm also perfectly happy just doing my own thing. So,
yeah. Plus, as you get older, it does get harder to find a partner because your bullshit filter just gets like so much more strict, and there's just a lot less that you're willing to put up with. But then the other aspect that you mentioned of it is the selfishness, because when you don't have a partner, you're solely reliant on yourself and you just get to cater to your own whim whenever you want. And it kind of reminds me of like before, like my daughter's 5, and it reminds me of like before she was born, and I could literally just say to my partner, like, oh, I'm going out, or like I'm doing this, or I'm going to meet friends tonight. I'll probably be gone for like 5 or 6 hours, or I'm going skating for the day. I'll be gone for 10 hours. Whereas now I'm like, I have to book that shit like 2 weeks in advance. And if it rains in that day, then you've lost that opportunity. That's it. It's not like, oh, I can do it next weekend instead. No, that opportunity evaporated with the bad weather. So
for sure.
I kind of feel like it's the same with relationships as well. That you're so like, you're like, oh, I can work by my own schedule and do what I want. But then, you get into that habit of just being completely selfish, and then it takes a lot to kind of break free of that, or adjust to other people's schedules, or other, like, considering what other people want. So
or meet the person who will understand that, like, I'm gonna go skate, or I'm gonna go stay at work late, and you can fend for yourself, make some dinner or whatever.
I work 6.5 days a week. Is that okay with you?
Yeah. And like I that's another fucking like little box that has to be checked. Like, I'm a very independent person. I hope you are too, because can't get too clingy with me because I got other shit to do. It's just my lifestyle right now doesn't necessarily correspond with, or like, it's just not finding and getting into or entering a relationship. It's just not conducive to my lifestyle right now. So it's just not a priority. And if it happens, it happens. And everyone always says, oh, it'll happen when you least expect it. And I'm just like, sure. At 10 years, like, when's it?
You never know.
So
what you're saying is we need to set up a very niche Facebook group for performance car enthusiasts based in the East Coast of America who also happen to be gay. That's a really long tagline. That's
exactly.
We're going to need to work on the title for that and make it a lot more punchy. But
yeah. Well, I was hoping this edit would do it, but no, it was funny because the day I woke up one morning and just hit play on my, like, whatever, Spotify, and that song came on. I was like, oh fuck, this is the one. I sent it to Mike, and I think I was like kind of hungover from the night before or whatever. This is like a Sunday. And I was like, Mike, I can see the headlines now. Gay rollerblader, fed up with online dating apps, skates to Grace Jones' I Need a Man in new online skate edit / personals ad. And it made so much sense in my brain. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be hilarious. And also, like, all these fucking gay dudes are gonna see this and be like, oh shit, I'm gonna hit him up or whatever. And it hasn't happened.
You do realize how common it is for people to use like disco in that kind of like era of music nowadays, right? Like you've got people like Robbie Pitts using all that kind of stuff. Like that's quite like I even used like multiple disco stuff in the last like full length Wheel Scene video. So
yeah,
like,
it's really good music.
If you want to do that,
some
to
of the most
stand out,
underrated.
yeah,
and I think that had a lot to do with like hyper masculinity in like the 70s and saying disco sucks. And it's like, no, that's just like basically like a bunch of like white rock dudes like not coming to grips with like just being fragile and not wanting anything questioned. It was like, no, disco's fucking sick. So
plus, yeah, some of the beats just lend themselves to skating. What was the one that we used? We used what's her name? Randy Crawford, Street Life. Oh my god, let's get the perfect steady beat for a skate edit. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's meant to dance to, and in a lot of ways, skating it kind of mimics a lot of dance moves here, especially Robbie Pitts.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I get so inspired watching that guy skate. All of his Instagram stuff, his newest edit, it's just really fantastic stuff. It's such a different approach. Yeah, it's refreshing.
I just love that it triggers people so well. It doesn't trigger so many people so much, but just the category of people it triggers. And I'm like, see if you find it that upsetting, just don't press play.
Yeah.
No one's. It's not like, you know, A Clockwork Orange where people are prizing your eyes open. You don't. If you don't like it, don't follow him on social media. Don't watch his videos. It's that simple.
Yeah. But also, I mean, it might trigger something in someone's brain that says, oh, if everyone else likes this, like maybe this is okay. I don't know.
I also think that's the opposite end, like byproduct of it. I think some people go, oh, everyone else likes it. It must be cool. I like it too. I think there's an element of that happening as well.
Yeah. But also if people resist enough or they just can't get it, it's a great like trolling opportunity. I don't know. I find I take great pleasure in trolling people from time to time on the internet. So,
yeah, it's a great way. Like if you're bored at like the dentist office or whatever, it's a great way to kill 20 minutes. Just poking people that you've never met before in your entire life. Yeah, just prodding them for dumb stuff that they put online. Yeah, it's great. That's one of my favorite pastimes.
As long as exactly. We're using that skill set for good. So it's good for the soul.
So what does the future hold for Tim Adams? Are we going to see so I know Mike's working on a project. Do you have any clips on it? Or is that his thing?
No, that's just his thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But the rough plan that we have is Nate and I are both going to film this summer. Troy used to skate like way back in the day, and we just recently connected in the last 2-3 years. But he's just like, I don't know, you'll see. His skating is just so interesting to watch. And so the three of us are going to just go out and film, and we don't really have a vision in mind. It's not necessarily going to be like a joint project, but who knows? And Mike will probably edit it as well, because
Mike gets landed with a lot of these responsibilities. I'm surprised he just doesn't turn around one day and be like, no, you know what, edit your damn self, right? He's like,
yeah, well, the thing is, he wouldn't be able to stand watching it if we edited it. So you've already set precedent by making all this stuff. You can't let us down now. No, I would never force Mike to do stuff if he's too busy. Grant edits most of his own stuff. I know how to edit video. It's just I know that Mike's way of doing it makes it something completely different from what I would do.
Right.
So, but we plan to keep skating and just keep doing what we're doing. I have so much fun, even just filming people. I sometimes enjoy that more than being in front of the camera, because it allowed, like, especially filming fisheye. is like my all-time favorite thing to do. If I film a clip fisheye, if I'm not feeling the spot or, not skating well that day, I enjoy just picking up the camera, and I feel just as fulfilled getting some clip where I have to be jumping upstairs, jumping downstairs. I've stair bashed with a camera in my hand filming Grant many times.
I'm sure I remember someone once say, was it Stefan Brando? I'm sure Stefan Brando once saw him like comment something being like, Tim's one of my favorite fisheye filmers, or I can tell, or it might have been something from like Nights and Weekends or something, or from One for the Road, and you were filming someone else or Grant or someone, and I'm sure like Stefan instantly knew it was you holding the fisheye.
Yeah.
Without being able to see that it was you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I have so much fun. I've only recently learned the proper way to film with a fisheye and had the confidence to get in there. And yeah, we kick the lens off the camera all the time. We have a few backups just in stock, but yeah. So looking forward just as much to filming as I do skating. And I don't know, just having fun.
All right. Yeah. When I hadn't seen it from you from a couple of years, I was like, God, has he just stepped back? And I was like, he can still do the career thing and skate once a week or once every couple of weeks. I mean, like people can't fall back in that excuse, but I'm glad to hear it sounds like you have been. We've just, not been as aware of it in recent years. So that's cool. And yeah, it was awesome to see a surprise new section from you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm very happy with it. I can't thank Mike enough for all the mental energy he put into this thing. He had that footage for like 4 months. And he had stuff going on in his life and had to just take a step back. And I was like, dude, just send me what you got. It's probably great. And he's like, no.
My brain won't allow me to do that.
Yeah,
so,
the timing is not right. I need to, he just told me many times, I had to step back from it. It just wasn't right. And I'm glad that we both had the patience to see it through. Yeah, I think it turned out really good.
All right. I have quizzed you for almost 2 hours. In fact, I think it's more than 2 hours. And I think I might have finally ran it. Well, I haven't ran out of questions, but I think that's all I can remember off the top of my head. I did write some down, but I don't think I can remember them. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Do you still like, so obviously you've still kept skating and you have your friends that you keep up with in skating. Do you like follow what's going on in the community or in the industry anymore? Or is that something that no longer interests you?
Kind of both of those things. I honestly, I hadn't started listening to rollerblading podcasts regularly until a couple of weeks ago when you approached me.
They're overrated. I wouldn't bother.
I don't find them very interesting most of the time. And I think part of it is I was listening to the wrong ones. Part of it is that I didn't have I saw myself as kind of not relevant and not having, I guess, I don't know, I'm not trying to figure out how to articulate this. I think putting out the section and feeling like I have like a stake in the game now, again, sort of, made me want to be more a part of it again. And so basically, like, I follow a lot of rollerbladers on Instagram.
Yeah,
I'll watch their stories and see what they share. I kind of trust their judgment. And that's how I kind of follow skating and what's going on in the culture. And that we don't have BMAG anymore. They kicked me off of the rollerblading page on Facebook.
Okay, why? What did you do?
Okay, so here's what I did. I'm not proud of this.
This is going to be good, right? Okay.
Someone started a car thread. Said, hey, are there any automotive people in here? This is my car. It'd be cool to connect with other rollerbladers who are also in car culture and who are into that stuff, post your car up. And so I saw that like 5 minutes after it was posted. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Here's what I do for a living. Here's my car. And everyone was just like vibing and like going back and forth and like, oh shit. Like, and I got like friend requests over that and like new connections with rollerbladers. I'm like, this is sick. The thread gets deleted. Like 10 minutes later, the thread gets deleted. It was off topic. And it's not rollerblading specific. Therefore it's doesn't belong on this page. Rollerblading. Go to the page. Fuck them. I don't care. But so that happened. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. So what I'm going to do is I got a picture of me driving my car. And then I photoshopped myself 540ing over the car. And I was pretending like it was like a legit photo.
Right.
Because it was actually me doing a 540, but I'm like almost as big as the car. Like it's clearly a joke. But I was like, hey, post up yourself skating your car or jumping over your car. Because people do that.
Yeah. And
people posted themselves doing like fucking front flips over cars and shit. And it was an amazing thread again. And it ended up getting like...
But you were trolling the admins. You were trolling the admins.
You can say that. No, yeah, of course. I was fucking with them. Yeah. There's no rule. There's no designation on the page that says this is rollerblading content only, whatever. And so I was like, well, all right, well, I'm going to make a fucking rollerblading car thread. And I stuck to my story the entire time. I'd never broke character the entire time. Someone was like, hey, isn't that your face in the rearview mirror? How are you jumping your car? And I'm like, okay, you got me. While I was jumping my car, I thought it would look really cool to Photoshop myself in the car. I just like, somehow I was like, in my brain, that made perfect sense. It was just a dumb thing. Anyways, that thread got deleted and I got banned from the page. No explanation, no reaching out. I think one of the admins messaged me on Instagram like a couple days later and was like, what, you got banned? Oh my God, like I'll add you again right now. And I was like, no, fuck that page. I don't care. Like,
yeah, seems like seems a bit overly sensitive, like a bit of an overreaction. Yeah. I
mean, I'm just like fucking around, but like, dude, in to be serious, like this is during like peak COVID time. Everyone's locked down. Let's have a little bit of camaraderie on the internet and have some fun with it and like make connections. Like, yeah. That was my point. Like it was so absurd that they would just ban. I still don't even know who it was.
I'm pretty sure Daniel's an admin for that. Just get Daniel to find out. He should be able to know who blocks.
Like, I'm not going to make a fuss. He also probably reached out and I was like, nah, fuck that page. I don't care. But yeah, hopefully maybe there'll be more in the future, more accepting of other subcultures within our subculture. I don't know. It's not as easy. It's like if you just say, "Oh, well, then go start your own Facebook page." Like, no, I'm not going to start. No.
It seems like a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you already have thousands of people on this page. I want to connect with those thousands of people. Explain to me why I can't. Like that's, I don't know. Maybe I'm just stubborn and like a child, but
that is pretty funny. Yeah. That is good. Yeah, no, because people put up stuff like, "Oh, I'm in a band. Post your like music that your dinner makes," and people get away with doing that. So if you can do that, why can't you do the car thing? Yeah. Like,
well, I hope they still do that. Maybe they made a change to the policy. If I got to get sacrificed in the meantime, that's okay. I'll take
it. you're a martyr for the cause. Yeah,
it's fine. Like I don't find pages like that to be interesting. To get back to your point about following what's going on in the culture. To be honest with you, most edits that I see, I don't find to be inspiring to me anymore. I've seen so much skating over the years. I can appreciate it and respect the people who are doing it, and I'll give them a like. I'm not necessarily going to share it in my story unless I really feel it. So
that is the burden of being in something for like decades, that after a while it becomes very hard to see things that feel new and refreshing, and the opportunity for that is so much, the window for that gets so much smaller the longer you stay in something. So yeah,
sure.
I know what you mean.
But also, I mean, like, I don't go to contests. So I don't even know these people personally. Like, I used to go to the Bitter Cold Showdown every single winter and skate in that contest and see all the people that I would see just once a year. And I have like a frame of reference for who these people are that are putting out these edits. Maybe that helps. Because if I know someone, even if I don't like love their skating, knowing them and their personality, I think that lends itself to like enjoying their skating more.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe if I start going to contests more. Grant was always trying to pull me out to Detroit for their contests and things like that. And maybe I'll start doing that more often. And after like things start opening up more, we'll have more people coming out skating, and I'll get better at appreciating what other people are doing. But
so we're getting right. So all I need to know is we're getting more footage out of you, and you're going to start attending events again. Well, that's it. You've already agreed to it. It's been documented here, and you can't go back on that. So that's fine. I'm happy with that.
So yeah. So yeah, definitely more footage, maybe more participation in real life skating stuff. But I don't know. I still love it the same way I did when I was, grinding rails that had waterfalls on the other side and shit. It's just, you grow up and other things, you have other priorities. So
yeah, but time gets stretched thinner and thinner, and yeah, the time you get to
that sounds so sad. I don't want to end on that. I still love skating. I still skate all the time, at least once a week, and you'll continue to hear from me for sure.
Look out for me front side in a rail near you very soon.
Yes.
All
the time, always.
No other grinds, front sides and back sides. That's all you're getting.
Yeah.
And slides.
And this year some more mono rolls.
No, you're learning toe rolls this year.
Oh shit, I did say that. Yeah. And maybe great. A toe roll.
Because I can cut that clip, and then when it gets to December 31st, I can just post it and just tag you at the bottom and be like, "How's it going, Tim?" And you're gonna have to provide the world with a toe roll clip.
Yeah. Shit. Well, it's either that or just quit skating. But no, I've been just watching Mike skating, and he's started to incorporate toe rolls into his, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta learn that, because none of us do that around here. We never have, and I think that's part of it. Like, you kind of glean ideas from people whose skating you really appreciate and respect, and Mike is on that list for sure. And I'm like, okay, if he's doing it and that looks fun, I gotta try and figure this out.
I mean, it doesn't look fun. It looks infuriatingly difficult. But yeah, okay, I see
where you're tried it before. Yeah, you're right.
Nothing about it looks fun.
But it looks interesting, and it looks, I don't know, it's a new thing that you can do that is not going to get you destroyed.
I mean, you say that, but like, if you mess up a toe roll, you're just going face first towards asphalt. Like, you're gonna get hurt.
Damn. I guess I just don't know. I just don't know anymore.
Like, it's not as safe. It's like misleadingly safe. It's like, it makes it, when you see people, it's on flat ground, how hurt can you get? Well, you can still get pretty hurt. You can drag the palms of your hands clean across the street.
Yeah, for sure. But it's more accessible. I don't need like a certain spot to be able to learn a toe roll.
This is true.
You don't have to throw yourself onto a handrail. I don't know. It's something that I want to incorporate for sure.
Right. So that's happening this year, right? So that's 3 things now that I've got you to agree to. So that's fine. That's enough.
And more 540s. I relearned 540s that day in that clip where I did the like 1 foot on the wall thing.
Yeah, I love how you said that was the first one, and I'm pretty sure it was a mute 540, wasn't it? So like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I haven't done one of these in ages. I'll just do one where I have to hold a hard grab for most of the rotation. Most people would just do it no grab.
Yeah. It came back to me, and actually, like, I wish I had redone that clip. I wanted a 540 over the rail, and it's a spot we usually get kicked out of that spot, and so it just.
But what? You've had loads of clips on that spot over the years, though. Like you've got the wall ride clip. What?
It's always that wall ride, the old one where I kind of roll down the wall.
Yeah,
that was a fluke. We got that spot for like an hour that day, and and it took me a good like 30 tries to get it the way I wanted it. And then right after I did that, the fucking security guard walks out and he's like, "All right, you guys got to go." And I was like, "Holy shit, this is like the universe." Like providing.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that is a leap from that like pyramid-y thing to the wall, and then he managed to basically 90 onto the wall and roll down it. I was like, that's one of those like golden goose clips that you're just I
love that. Yeah,
we've got it, let's go.
Yeah, but generally that spot is a bust immediately. You have like 5-10 minutes maybe. So didn't get a chance to go back and do it, but since I've been learning 540s better, and I don't know, I've been doing 360s for probably 10 years, and then finally just realized, oh, let me just try this, and you just got to drop your shoulder and do that. That was easy, and it's easier on your joints, landing fakie, and I don't know.
I've seen you do a bunch of fives and fakie fives, so that's just outright lies.
When was the last 5 you saw that wasn't off of like a launch? That was just a flat to flat.
All right, I'll let you. I'll let you away with the technicality, but okay.
And Mike wants me to 720 something. He wanted me to for this, and
I mean, you over rotate the shit out of your 540s. That's what I'd noticed as well. You do them really fast, so the prospect of doing a 7 is not that far fetched.
Yeah, I know how to do 7s. It's a completely different. I throw them completely differently. So I do it like, I don't know, if you watch like John Bellino or like Casey do them, they do them like a fakie 5. So you like do a quick 180 in the air, but your access has to be so that you like come around and land forward, leaning forward. Anyway, I got 720s. I just have to find the right thing to do it on. Okay. I don't think I have 720s on like a flat to flat surface like Casey and John. It just has to be the right thing.
They're freaks though. They're both freaks, so that's fine. Like John's done a 900 on street. That's just absurd.
Dude, John did a 900 on the same spot that I 540 we were just talking about when he was like 13 years old.
Yeah, because he's a freak of nature. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was like, yeah, they're so good. Both those guys. I'm so happy to see John back in it and killing it consistently. I don't know. That's really inspiring.
Yeah. Not only he's the biggest flake known to man. He's actually stood me up 3 times for a podcast interview. So like John's on my shit list, but he's also had the most like miraculous comeback known to man. He's the only pro blader in history to have 2 comebacks, and both of them have been successful. So the first time he quit on Facebook, he quit SSM on Facebook, came back, won Better Cold Showdown.
Oh shit.
And then I think he gave the money to his mum because she was like struggling financially or something. Stayed on SSM for like until it died. It died, quit. Like he basically went, oh yeah, I'm done again. And then came back and he's rocking Dems and just put out those 2 unbelievable sections. So he's the only pro, like most pro bladers come back and it's embarrassing. Like they're like no longer of the time. They don't understand what's currently going on. They've clearly not been paying attention to blading, and they just want to like, pick up where they left off. And that's just, time has moved on. That type of skating no longer works. John's skating is so timeless that he's come back, and it just looks like it's still in the right. It's so current. So
yeah. I couldn't have said it any better.
He's killed the comeback perfectly. Yeah. And cool. Still going. Like it looks. I'm pretty sure he's already filming for another piece. Yeah.
For sure.
So on that note, I've got no more questions for you unless you've got anything else you want to say. And I'm worried that your poor dog has gone silent and has just decided that he despises you now because you've not given him the love and affection that he requires.
No, he's
just judging you in the corner, looking at you going, stop talking.
No, he's very needy. But he's just off camera, laying down. He lays down most of the day and just relaxes. He's getting old. And
I was about to say, because that's the same dog that you'd had in like all your like the 2012, 2013 edits. So
yeah, when he was a puppy. So he'll be 10 at Thanksgiving, which isn't that old, but he's a big dog.
Right.
He was over 100 pounds at one point. Now I got him down to a healthy weight, but he's a big boy. So, but yeah. Lucky to have him.
Exactly. That's right. Okay. Yeah. You didn't answer my question. Have you got anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. Thanks for having me on, dude. I think we've been corresponding for a number of years on Facebook, but just never. It was good to connect and get to chat with you.
I've weirdly, over the years somehow managed to accidentally have like connections with people related to Rochester in one way or the other ever since Wheel Scene started. So like with Guy Crawford, who I know sometimes comes down and visits you guys from Canada. He's obviously from the UK originally. Stefan Brando as well. He's like, I've been in touch with him pretty much ever since, I started doing the magazine as well. And then obviously in recent years, Grant and Mike. So it's just, it's weird the way things like that kind of happen. You're like, oh, I literally have some point of contact with so many members of this crew.
Well, I'm glad it worked out, but I was so stressed about this.
Why?
I don't know. Well,
what did you think I was going to do to you?
You know how like some people have an issue where they can land a trick over and over again and the camera comes out and they're like forgot how to skate, period. I wasn't sure if that was I don't do this. This is the first podcast I've ever been on, and so I don't know.
You thought I was going to click record and you were going to go,
yeah, dude.
And people are like, wow, Tim's dumb. Like he doesn't know how to articulate any thoughts.
That was my fear. Maybe I'm dumb, and maybe everyone just thinks I'm smart because I like write well or something. But no, I don't know. I'm.
Well, I'm glad we put that fear to rest. That definitely did not happen here today. So that's good.
Cool.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do this. And look forward to the new stuff that you come out with. And no slacking. You and Nate need to get out in the streets and get productive. And just kick the shit out of a bunch of fish eyes.
Yeah, will do. Can't wait.
Right. Look forward to it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
David. All right, you too.
Bye.